What's up, guys? In this episode, we talk with Jordan, who is a behavioral therapist that actually works for Achievability Therapy. But in this episode, we talk about her nonprofit organization called I Hope. I'm excited to get into it. There's a lot of details in this, so definitely take a listen, especially if you're a parent or someone who wants to truly help the community around Tampa Bay. Hey, Jordan, nice for you to be here today on our podcast.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Would you mind letting the audience know a little bit about yourself with Achievability Therapy and I Hope?
Yeah, so I am Jordan Culpeper. I'm currently a behavior analyst for Achievability Therapy and Achievers Day School. My time there has kind of led me to being now the founder of I Hope as well.
Awesome. Tell me about your experience with Achievability Therapy. What do you do there?
So Achievability Therapy, they provide ABA speech and OT services for kids 2 to 21 that are on the autism spectrum or have various developmental disabilities. And then from there, I kind of led into my passion for helping the older young adults, teens, with kind of that next phase in their life of adulthood, basically, helping them with that transition.
Okay. So what is I Hope ultimately about?
So I Hope it kind of started from when I was in my master's program. We had to do a big paper, and I didn't know what to write about. I wasn't sure what my kind of passion was to do a 10-plus page paper. And after kind of looking into things and looking at achievability therapy and seeing where some of our gaps were, I noticed a lot of places locally don't service clients over the age of 12. That's kind of that aged out age around here. But
for what exactly?
For services. So for therapy services, most local therapy companies don't service kids over the age of 12.
Because they're past that foundational stage and it's harder? What?
I'm not really sure why the reason is, but it's just something that is not the norm, unfortunately.
Interesting.
And what we know about disabilities is after 12, you still have them. So there's a pretty big gap in resources. So my experience with the teens at Achievability and seeing some of those things, I was like, okay, what can I do this paper on? And I was working with a specific client that was a young teen, and he started to engage in some sexually motivated behaviors, which he's going through puberty, he's learning about his body, but the understanding of we don't do this in public was just not a foundational skill. But there wasn't much resources out there to teach those types of things. So as I started doing a lot of my research, I found that a lot of the population that is currently incarcerated is a lot of them are going to have some form of developmental disability for those charges that are stalking, basic sexual assault, things like that, which a lot of times is just going to come from a lack of understanding, boundaries, and kind of that social norm. And if we think about it, when we think of autism, it oftentimes does include rigidity or a high interest in a specific item or some dinosaurs. We're obsessed with dinosaurs or obsessive, which if we think about it, as you get older, leads to things like stalking, right? That's exactly what that is. but without the understanding, it's just, I really love this thing.
Right.
But there's no resources out there to help parents kind of navigate these taboo topics as their kids get older. And they're not things you have to necessarily teach your neurotypical kids always.
So if that's like happening to a 12, 13-year-old, a parent is noticing these things, like literally they don't know where to, like, okay, now that you're saying this kind of thing, my children are not in that age yet, but I would think doctor, I would think therapy, but what kind of therapist in that situation?
Right. So that's kind of like the gap that there is right now. So they might look for ABA therapy, which is behavioral therapy. And in reality, that would be a good option. But locally and most commonly, there's not therapy past that age of 12. So essentially, at that critical point of starting that transition in puberty is when they're losing services. So there's not really many options. And for those ABA companies that do offer services for over 12, there's not a lot of people that are comfortable or have like the experience working with these various like sexual behaviors. So that kind of leaves them with
out of curiosity, what you've seen with this is it usually someone coming from an area where like they just were not raised very well, like didn't come from a good home environment situation, or is it something different?
For
like someone who may have like you said, like the stalking or not understanding the inappropriateness of public sexuality, things like that.
So it could be, there are obviously situations where how you're raised is going to come into play. But in reality, like when it comes to the population of like disabilities and especially developmental disabilities, there's just that gap between parents sometimes being able to see their teen as a teen because maybe they're still interested in young, toddler toys or just they're so innocent that these behaviors just seem like it's something that's part of their disability, and it's just they'll learn, they'll move forward.
Okay.
And or they just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when you start to intervene or you start to try to teach that, hey, this isn't appropriate, that's why they go to ABA, because they're going to engage in other behaviors, because they're going to not understand how to engage with or like understand and self-regulate that frustration.
Right.
And it's simple things like, if we think about just masturbation, you can't just not let someone do that forever, especially our kids who are like highly sensory driven, because to them that's going to be an even more heightened experience due to that like sensory like stimulation that they're seeking. So like as they get older and they kind of just find that, just like a typical kid would, if you're just consistently telling them to stop and not providing them like the appropriate ways to navigate this, I mean, you're going to get a lot of pent up anger and frustration, because there's going to be no way to get, kind of that sensory seeking need met.
Right. So you saw this as a need, and so you started IHOPE, what does IHOPE help in that situation?
So I hope my end goal would be to assist with independent living. But currently what I'm working on and providing is various services to families and teens and adults on relationships, intimacy, kind of, we say all of those taboo topics. So turning taboo into typical, things that you're not really sure how to navigate, online dating and all of that. So we're really teaching, we provide courses, 6 to 8 week courses in either a one-on-one or group setting, for like a safe space for either parents who want to navigate, like, how do I have the talk with my special needs child, or whether you're a young adult who's interested in having a relationship but doesn't know how to navigate those boundaries. Even things like going over consent and like accepting no and denied access, and things we do and don't say to people while we're dating, and kind of like even just what makes a relationship. Just because you go on one date doesn't mean we're now together and, you're mine. So just kind of navigating all those little nuances is what I work on with them and provide families.
How long have you been doing this?
I have had iHope for a little under a year, but I have started doing these types of things with Achievability as an analyst. So because they have some older clients, I've had clients and I've had those talks with parents, and that's kind of what helped lead me to like, there's a huge gap. And like you were saying earlier, parents not knowing that this is even something that can be targeted. So it really started with, like, even at Achieve, being able to teach simple things like body parts, in all of your body parts, even your like reproductive parts, because that's just, in addition to becoming somebody who's going to accidentally victimize, they also are more susceptible to being a victim. So like being able to teach them to identify their different body parts and what's appropriate. So we kind of started that through ABA therapy. So I've been doing that for a couple years now. But yeah, iHope's just been about a little under a year. Yeah.
So what ultimately, I asked you this a question earlier, but I'm curious a little bit to go a little deeper. Like, what ultimately made you want to begin this, or like were you prompted to like start a nonprofit, or this you just noticed this gap and are like, I got to do something about it?
Definitely felt like I just needed to do something about it.
As you were getting experience with
Yes.
working in environments, you're like, hey.
Yeah, as I started talking with families, and I had one family in particular, it's one of those conversations that when you're going to sit down with a family and be like, hey, here's the things that I think, here's the deficits we're seeing with your child, and, the things that we want to work on. What are you guys seeing? And when you start to talk about like puberty, your menstrual cycle, things like that, like parents don't know if that's something they can bring up, because it's this taboo, unspoken topic. So I had one family in particular where I was super nervous because I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to open up the floor to this, and they actually were so receptive. It was like opening the floodgates of like, I didn't know that we could bring these things up, and like, here's all these concerns we have. And it was things all the way from like body hair and like shaving, and to dating, and will my kid even be interested in these types of relationships? And like, I think it opened up additional questions because the topic just kind of came up.
Yeah.
And like being able to kind of pre-teach about your menstrual cycle before you get it, so that our kids are understanding what's happening, and there's less of a behavioral concern when those do happen. So talking with them and seeing just like them light up about, oh wow, like there's a whole new thing that probably they spoke about together of like concerns with one another, that they're like, I don't, who do we talk to? What do we say? How do you even bring that up? Like approach your, no one thinks of their child as like a sexual being in any sense typically.
Yeah.
So being able to be like, how do you say something to someone, like, how do you teach that if that's not,
Yeah.
I know for me, if my parents tried to teach that, it would be very awkward. So like, yeah, it just felt like a huge gap that was needed for our families.
So how are you running it right now? Is it just you? Do you have several therapists?
It's just me right now, and we're doing virtual courses through like Google Meet, Zoom right now. And then we're working though to start doing some in-person group courses locally, so that I can create like a community as well. So those people that are interested in dating and things like that, they can find a group of like-minded individuals in a similar, situation as them.
Is this for the person getting therapy, or maybe the parents?
For the person.
Okay.
So like you would sign up your adult with developmental disabilities. They would come and we would have a community of other individuals that are, let's say it's our relationship course. So there are people that are interested in dating but don't know how to navigate that at all. So it's not something they're doing. We'll have a group of like-minded people, and being able to kind of build a community, whether that opens the door for them with each other to find, people, or even just build friendships and that understanding to go out into the world and date more organically.
Right.
Yeah.
So with this being a nonprofit and everything like that, how does the structure work? Do you have to go by through donations? Are you able to charge in any kind of way? Like how's that built?
So right now we have not gotten fully done with nonprofit stuff.
Okay.
That's a whole
it's
a whole process.
You start the action usually before the
Yes.
I got you.
Yeah. So right now it is self-pay for families. That they would pay for those courses out of pocket right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're trying to set it up to where they can receive some funding for it?
Yes, that would be the end goal. Yes. Yeah. I'm working on trying to get some additional funding and support.
Yeah.
I'm working on like also reaching out to our local places that do service adults. It's typically going to be more like day programs and group homes, things like that. So I'm looking at partnering with those types of programs that aren't going to be offering these services, but offer more like daily living, things like that.
So this is a good add-on service for it.
Yeah, just to add on and see, because it's not going to be for everyone, but for those adults that are really interested in kind of expressing that desire. And again, it's something that a lot of people don't know a lot about or how to navigate. So just adding on a service for them that they can offer while their clients are already on site, basically. Right. Yeah.
So you saw this problem, which is what any good business or any good nonprofit really goes after, is they see a problem that no one's really helping solve, or they don't know how to solve it, or a better way to solve it. And so when was the moment you're like, hey, there's a gap here? And what made you think nonprofit in that circumstance?
I think nonprofit came from just knowing not everyone's going to have the means to pay out of pocket for these services. And I just want as many people as possible to have access. So that's kind of where the nonprofit side came from. And honestly, just like I said, talking with that one family and just seeing the, like, everything just kind of, it's like their child's world opened up. Because now we're talking, oh, they might not live with me forever. They might have a relationship. Like, all of these us as parents have ideas and visions and hopes and dreams of what our kids' lives are going to look like. And for families who don't experience receiving a diagnosis for their child, continue with these hopes and dreams and ambitions as they age. Whereas our families that do experience their child being diagnosed at a young age with something like autism, it really kind of, their ambitions in world kind of start to get smaller and smaller. And as your kid gets older and older, it gets even smaller and smaller, because you're not often are you thinking about your kid being able to go to college, getting their first job, their first car, moving out, like all of those milestones that teens and young adults go through and you feel like aren't going to happen. Your ambitions and kind of ideas of what your child's or young adult's life is going to look like. So kind of that moment when I was talking with that family and I kind of set the tone of that first conversation, as simple as, let's talk about puberty and like all of that. Like, what do you see for your child in the future? How can we make sure that she's safe? It was like, oh, it kind of just opened the door for them to be like, maybe they'll have a relationship. Maybe she could go to school or be like not in our home forever, and just seeing them kind of be like, wow, we do get to experience all of those same dreams again. I was just like, more families need to feel this, know this is a possibility. All of our kids are capable of these things. It's just about getting them the resources that they can access and meet these different goals.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what you're doing sounds awesome, because it's a gap that most people don't think about, and a gap that, like, once the problem occurs and there's no solution right then and there, that's a dark place to probably be as a parent, or an adult with disabilities, right? So, what is a way that someone can help you grow your nonprofit a little bit faster, to get these services out a little faster? Who are the people that you're looking for to help join your nonprofit, whether it's another therapist or an admin or anything along the lines of like helping grow this nonprofit?
Yeah, definitely companies that are already providing services to adults with developmental disabilities. So like I was saying, those day programs, group homes, anyone that in that kind of industry, if they reach out to me so that we can partner and get these services out to their clients, that's going to be huge, because the more we can get into these programs that are already established and safe spaces for parents, and just kind of building on what they're already offering, is going to open up to so many families and whatnot. So I think that's going to be biggest, is just partnerships with those families. And the great thing is, because I also can do virtual, they don't even have to be local to the Tampa area. Really, anyone. I've had people reaching out from out of state about, hey, I've seen what you're doing, and like there is no one even local here doing that. So just anyone anywhere that's offering those services,
Yeah.
We can definitely work together to make sure your families are supported, in these various skills and areas.
That's awesome. I'm curious, why did you get into this practice of therapy?
Honestly, so my grandmother was like my biggest role model hero growing up, and she was in the mental health field for children, and I always just really wanted to do what I could to make her proud, and I really had no idea what I was going to do, and I knew I wanted to do something with kids and kind of psychology, and I got a job as a behavior technician, actually at Achievability Therapy, so like very entry level, and it was like day one, I was like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Being able to teach kids that are struggling how to communicate, how to build relationships, how to play and how to bond and have a better relationship with their parents. I just was like, I can make a difference, and I can still follow in my grandma's footsteps.
Yeah.
So that was originally what kind of led me, and I just kind of fell in love with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Jordan, thank you so much for coming on today, letting us know the problem that exists and the solution that you have to offer. And for anyone listening to this podcast, I want them to be able to reach out to you, contact you through iHope. So can you share how someone can do that?
Yeah, they can go to our website, which is iHope supportiveservices.com, or email me at admin@ihopesupportiveservices.com.
Awesome.
Yes.
Jordan, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and we hope to support you in this venture.
Yes,
and
thank you.
Good luck.
Yes,
And
thank you so much.
And thank you again for doing this.
Thank you.